Turn our attention to Alabama, a state with 9 electoral votes that President Trump won handily back in 2016. Tonight, we're hearing from some voters who cite the late civil rights icon John Lewis as a motivator in this year's election. NewsNation's Michael Schur is in Montgomery with that part of the story.
Rob, that's right. And you know, this is the terminus, the capital here in Montgomery. This is the terminus, those steps of the Selma to Montgomery march that John Lewis tried to lead once and then led a little bit later after the Bloody Sunday riots in Selma. But on the minds of everyone here, even though John Lewis was lost in July of this year, is the work that he did. It's on the minds of both Republicans and Democrats. As the country readies to vote in the 2020 presidential election, and after over 50 million already have, for some Americans, the vote itself remains a topic of conversation, even 55 years after the Voting Rights Act was signed.
Well, you know, that voting thing must be awfully important, because every time I turn around, somebody's attacking it or trying to take it away from some people. Fish frying.
Joanne Bland was a very young girl when she walked with the foot soldiers of the Selma to Montgomery march.
I was 11 years old when I stood on this rock. 11. And I followed John Lewis and Hosea Williams, right through there, up to that bridge to be beaten by law enforcement officers.
But official Alabama is trying to change that legacy.
I can't do anything about what happened in the 50s and the 60s when I wasn't even born, but I can do something about what happens today, and I have.
Republican John Merrill is Alabama's Secretary of State. In his offices in Montgomery, Merrill talked with us about that effort.
Alabama has not always been looked at as a bastion of voting right freedoms. It's been looked at in many ways as a place that restricted the opportunity for our people to be able to have their voice heard and their vote counted.
And in over 5 years on the job, the self-avowed conservative says he has results.
We now have a state record, 3,692,163 registered voters. No state in the union has done what we've done.
I love coming down in this area. Got a great crowd coming out here tonight.
But Alabama U.S. Senator Doug Jones, a Democrat, says there is more to the story.
You know, look, we've registered a lot of people. They have made it easy to register to vote, and I give them credit for that. We've got a lot of people registered, but there's like 800, 900,000 people in this state who've never cast a vote that are registered already.
Alabama may not be in play in the presidential election, but here in Selma, in the shadow of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, in the year during which John Lewis died, the cause that he marched for across that bridge is very much in play.
I grew up here, and I know that it's hard. And when your circumstances stay the same, and you vote every year, and nothing happens, that I'm still here, I still don't have a job, I'm still poor, my kids still go to schools that need money they don't get, and you become apathetic.
And in Alabama, the legacy of civil rights is everywhere, and the legacy of John Lewis is as well, even on the walls of the office of the Secretary of State.
I think it puts a greater responsibility on us to make sure that we're doing everything we can to preserve, protect, and ensure the integrity of the vote for all of our people. You know, I had a very positive relationship with Congressman Lewis. I was honored to have known him.
Senator Doug Jones knew Lewis well. The Democrat campaigned in Troy, Alabama, Representative Lewis's birthplace, where he talked about the power that his memory still holds.
I have channeled John so much in the last few months, you know, especially on social justice and racial justice and the Voting Rights Act, you know, to stand up, to speak out, to cause that good trouble. I mean, it's just part of my DNA at this point. And John's smiling, you know, and he's looking down and he is saying, "You go. You go, Doug." I mean, he was there with me. He still is. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Senator. His importance to this state and this fight did not pass with the congressman, nor did the forces that make that struggle difficult.
I don't think Alabama is any different than any other state. You know, voter suppression is nationwide, and forces are out there that are still trying to stop people from voting, even though we have the Voting Rights Act.
From a conservative Secretary of State in the Republican Party, as John Merrill is, who is touting how important John Lewis is to the work he does, to a senator who was brought to tears by it, you can still see the effect that on this 2020 election, John Lewis still has. In Montgomery, Alabama, for NewsNation, I'm Michael Schur.